Hi there, I'm Mike, and what I have for you today is Star Wars The Black Series number 50, Elite Praetorian Guard. This is a character, as far as I can tell, from episode 8. I'm getting that knowledge from the back of the box. Elite Praetorian Guard. As the supreme leader of the First Order, Snoke was flanked by crimson-clad guardians, loyal protectors encased in ornate armor, ready to defend the supreme leader from any threat. So he's pretty much exactly what you'd expect him to be based on how he looks. He looks like a fancy Imperial Royal Guard. Instead of being covered in a big red blanket, he has like samurai armor, I guess. Let's get him out of the package. And here we have him, and he looks pretty good. Quick note, right out of the package, the arms on mine were backwards. When I tried to bend the arm, it wouldn't bend forward. I noticed it would bend this way, I guess. So I just kind of turned him around, and now his arms bend forward, but I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. Were yours backwards if you got this too? I'm genuinely curious. He is clad all in red. The material they use for the skirts is like a weird soft rubber. I don't think a material like this has really been used before. Usually rubber is like a hard, dense plastic. This is like a soft kind of vinyl almost, I think. It's got some molded detail on it, like a weird surface. Underneath, we have just kind of normal boots and some patterned legs. They actually put a lot of detail into this for things that you don't really see. The arms have these weird segments, and it's hard to see where the elbow is and where it's not. Again, mine was definitely backwards, and I feel like it still feels weird. I don't know how to describe it. I'm not doing a good job with this because this figure is so it's weird, but it looks good. He's got a pretty decent chest piece with some molded detailing in there, but that helmet just looks super rad. I don't know what's up with this thing. I don't know if you're supposed to know where his eyes are. I don't even know if he has eyes, but his face looks pretty cool. I do want to say that his pauldrons right here are a ball joint, and while that does give him a lot of motion and options, they do tend to kind of pop off. Mine are a little on the loose side. Also, I've noticed that while posing this thing, the skirts do sort of get in the way. It's nice that they're 4 pieces. You got some freedom there, but I feel like they're just a little bit long for the type of material that they are. So if you have his legs spread, this tends to be on the ground and it can hinder some of that posability. He only comes with one thing, and that's this super long, rad looking spear scimitar. I don't even know what else to call this other than a spear scimitar. Spiritar? Halberd? Is it a halberd? Is that right? That sounds right. Halberd. I used to play Dungeons and Dragons and whatnot. I should know things like this. It's got a lot of paint on here. From what it looks like to me, it's red molded plastic with silver details painted, as well as the blade. All in all, it's got a pretty good effect. It looks really good. He holds it well in one hand or two, but I do wish that his elbows allowed him to have a little bit more posing. So now that I've talked about that, let's take a look at the articulation. The head moves side to side, up this far, down this far. Shoulders are on ball joints. Arm can move out that far. It can move all the way around, but it's probably gonna knock off that shoulder pauldron. Just pop it back on. There is a bicep swivel. Yours might have come backwards like mine did. As far as I can tell, there is a single jointed elbow bend somewhere inside there. This joint is severely hindered by the armored segments moving down his arm. Most of these are sculpted, some of them are individual. The wrist is on a swivel, and it looks like also on a hinge, but it's hard to see inside there, so I'm not gonna chance it. There is a very good ab crunch and swivel on this guy, allowing him to bend this far forward and this far back. The skirts lift up and are made of a very thin vinyl type material. The leg moves out this far, back this far. They're not really hindered by the material, which is nice. There's a very decent spread, but it is hindered a little bit by the side skirts here. There is an upper thigh rotation, as well as a double jointed knee. The ankles are on very loose hinges on mine and have a pretty deep rocker. This being his widest stance with both feet flat on the ground, but keeping in mind that these front and back skirts do like to lift his feet off the ground when you're trying to pose him. It's very annoying. So the articulation's pretty good. He's got a lot of lower leg articulation, but the arms, those segments on the arms really hinder kind of what he can do, which does hinder the posability overall. But with a character like this, he does sort of look pretty badass just kind of standing there. You can put him in an intimidating pose like this and just kind of leave him, and he looks good. I do feel like with his staff, he doesn't have a good way to just stand there holding it. Like, he can't move his arm up high enough and rest the staff on the ground as if he were just standing guard with the halberd. I wish the halberd were a little bit longer, or I wish his arms could bend a little more or something. That's what's keeping this guy from getting a perfect score. All in all, I really like this guy. From the detailing, the accessory, as far as I know, is fine. I do know they're coming out with a couple more of these guys. One is an Amazon exclusive, and he's going to have a much longer weapon and a force pike, like what the Imperial Guard came with. And then there's also going to be one, there's like a Guard 4-pack from Barnes & Noble / GameStop / Disney Store, I think. I'm not entirely sure. It's one of those. And it's going to have a different looking with a different head and like 2 knife weapon things. And that's going to be a different guard. So all in all, if I get those, I'll have 3 of these guys, and that's a sizable army. I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, this guy, if you can find him, he looks good on a shelf. He's got a lot of shelf presence. And that's really what you want out of a figure like this. Because of the lack of arm articulation, I find kind of limits a little bit of the posing that I'm used to. I'm sure a much more advanced poser, is that a thing that you want to be called? A person with better skill at posing could pull off some really good poses. My friend Vinny actually just took some pictures of the one he got on Force Friday, and they look really good. Go ahead and follow him on Instagram, Count Slothula, if you want. He takes a lot of great toy pictures as well. As much as I like this guy, the arms really do drag him down just a bit, so I'm gonna give him a 4 out of 5. He's still well worth buying. He's still really high on the list, but he's a victim of his own coolness. They did a good job of getting the sculpting right from what I can tell. Obviously, I don't have any connection to this figure. I haven't seen episode 8 at this time. I'm sure he looks like he's supposed to, but because of that, it hinders some of the posability naturally in a figure like this. Did you find him? Do you have him? Do you want him? Let me know in the comments below. I look forward to reading those. Go ahead, like, share, subscribe, all of that stuff that people say at the end of YouTube videos, and I'll see you later. Bye. Were yours backwards if you got this too? I'm genuinely curious. I'm genuinely curious. I can't say that. Genuinely curious. There we go. I'm genuinely curious.